Welcome to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tattooing Network.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Your source for the latest Legion news, opinion, and analysis.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
John Archiquette.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Matt Turner.
I'm not afraid.
And Joshua Gray.
You will be.
What's going on, Outriders? John, Josh, and I guess Matt is still here?
Where is he? I haven't seen him.
Hey guys, can I come out of the corner now?
Yeah, I guess you can come on back out of the corner, Matt.
Yeah. For those of you who are wondering, we stuck Matt in the corner last week.
Oh God.
Yeah.
He spent
I'm so thirsty.
God, you thought the shot collar was bad.
You guys are really serious about that corner time punishment.
We sure are.
Now, thankfully, we got a functional microphone for Matt now, so...
Well, knock on wood.
Right. So a lot of great stuff to talk about this week, like barricades and...
Barricades are out. Hooray!
Yay, barricades!
You've all been waiting for barricades.
Barricades.
So we saw the official announcement from FFG that the barricades were here. And
Barricades!
They wrote up a whole,
Barricada.
Wow.
That actually would have been awesome if they had.
I know, right? They should have done that.
Commissioned Hart to come out of retirement.
Ooh, Barricada.
Oh, God. So, yeah, we're...
Hey, remember the 80s?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately.
I think that song was 70s, actually.
Yeah.
Was it?
I think so, yeah.
Hart was awesome, actually.
Yeah, they were. I always get them confused with Loverboy, though. Weren't they all
What?
the same?
What? No.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, first of all,
Again, apologies to our Canadian
Sorry.
listeners, but...
Hart was Nancy and Ann Wilson, I think. There's two females that led the group, and Loverboy were guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
The derailing is strong
Yeah.
with this one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They were the ones that did the Everybody's Working for the Weekend, right?
Maybe I'm mixing things up. I don't know.
Hey, we're a Star Wars Legion
Yeah,
podcast.
hi, yes. Don't you wish we were talking about sports now?
Or barricades.
Barricada.
So yeah, Star Wars Legion podcast. So we're going to try to talk about some Star Wars Legion stuff, even though FFG is not always helpful with that.
Hey, they dropped an article today.
They did.
Well,
They
yeah,
did.
the 3 pages of barricade fluff. Thomas was a small wall, but one day he knew he would grow up.
Is that expanded universe? Did they get rid of that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that official canon?
Yeah. Has Disney signed off on it?
No, we got some good stuff to talk about this week, guys. But it's not going to just be, ranting about barricades.
Nobody's ranted yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
You just wait.
Yeah.
We'll put Matt back in the corner.
No.
So we'll take a look at some of the latest news from Star Wars that may or may not be news. We're just still trying to kind of figure out yet.
Yeah.
Everything
And,
is news, whether it's true or not.
Okay,
whether
that's
it's
true.
fake news.
Is it fake news?
Yeah.
It's called rumors and
Yes.
and lies. And
Which is what the internet is for.
Rumors
Yes.
was Fleetwood Mac, not Hart.
oh my
God.
Jesus. Okay.
And we're going to recap a game that I wish I could probably forget that Matt and I played.
Oh, I'll remind you.
Recently. I know you will. That's why we'll talk about it later. But we'll take a look at the future of the game. Besides the barricades, what else does this game need? And what, besides just the typical wish listing, like,
I
we
want
want
Wookiees
the
and
Emperor.
Tauntauns.
Yeah, exactly.
No. What actual mechanics do we feel are lacking that would make the game more interesting?
So we'll talk about those things, but let's get into the Star Wars news or fake news first. Matt, what do we got?
Size, lots of size. There is a disturbance in the Force.
As in,
It seems like it's
length and
been
girth, or-
a bad couple of weeks for Star Wars fandom, but with the Miss Tran thing on the Instagrams and whatnot. But yesterday, there's widely been reports that Lucasfilm is canning all of the Star Wars story movies. So we've seen Rogue One and Solo that were Star Wars movies. The ones that we expected to be coming out, Kenobi and Boba Fett, are now Boba Fett.
Where?
Nowhere, apparently,
Yeah.
or at least on hiatus for who knows how long. They did confirm that they are still going forward with all the trilogy movies, so we're going to see Episode 9 with Abrams, obviously, and Rian Johnson's trilogy, and then the Benioff Weiss series that is named. Also.
Which I'm really excited for that.
Oh, for
I
sure,
mean,
yeah.
You give the guys that did Game of Thrones the keys to a Star Wars property
Yeah.
and say it's going to be an episodic, TV show. Yes, please. It's nice to have all Solo and the Boba Fett and the Kenobi, but how much is too much?
Well, I guess that's what we're going to be finding out here soon. But there's been conflicting rumors since then that Lucasfilm is trying to recant that a little bit. And they're like, well, we haven't canceled them, but, hiatus, were they ever officially announced? There's
Well, that's what I was going
some
to
people,
ask.
they were talking to ABC News and reporting one thing and the other way. So it's kind of just, we're waiting to hear, a more declarative statement, I think, from them. Also, that they're less willing to take. Lucasfilm is less willing to take risks on unproven directors, so they're just going to be skipping straight to your Ron Howards instead of trying somebody else and then sending them
and that's
packing.
the thing is that the pair, the duo that they had for Solo originally, they weren't unproven. They did the Lego Movie, which that's a different kind of property.
Yeah, I
but
think that's
still,
a very
I
different
mean,
production.
that's right. I mean, you're doing an animated production versus a live action production. But still, I mean, they're not inexperienced.
Well,
You don't get the keys to those because you just got out of film school and here you go.
What did Ryan Johnson directed before he did episode 8?
Looper, I think
Yeah,
that was one of his big ones.
Looper, he did some TV stuff.
Well, not to belabor the point, but I don't feel like Looper is going to be the movie that gets you the keys to
Hold on,
episode 8.
You'd be surprised.
Or an entire new franchise, or an entire new trilogy. I mean, I'm not going to go back into my bashing episode 8.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
No, I don't understand that.
But I feel like if you're worried about credentials, Ron Howard has credentials. I don't feel like Looper gets
Ryan
you.
Johnson was a fairly accomplished director before he got episode 9.
Okay.
But I mean, and you got to start to wonder that we see so many directors being fired. The duo from Solo was fired. Colin Trevorrow was fired.
or at least they parted ways.
Or at least they
without doing
right.
stuff.
They mutually
Yeah.
parted ways, or however you want to spin that. You got to start to wonder if there's problems at the top. If nobody can work with a company, then it's not all of the people, right?
Sure.
It gets to be one of those things where, well, maybe there's a problem at the top that they need to take a look at. So, and again, I mean, Colin Trevorrow's not a nobody when it comes to directing. He has some good credits to his name.
Okay. Well, I think at the end of the day, we just got to wait for more information to flow out. But I was really looking forward to the possibility of a Kenobi and a Boba Fett film because I think Boba Fett is criminally underserved. He's got very little actual screen time, so it's really since we lost the ability to learn about his past through 1313, all we've got is a little bit of Clone Wars time. But hopefully. But there is a little bit of good news, a little bit of light in the dark, but maybe this will be the spark that rebuilds.
What's that?
The reports from Jon Favreau on the Resistance TV show, apparently half of the first season scripts are done, and they're possibly due to start shooting in the fall.
Ooh,
so
Super.
That's good news.
It's an animated show. So,
No,
it's
live action. It's the live action.
Oh, okay.
So, and
But
this-
that's the one with the fighter pilots and stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Ostensibly, that's what
Sure.
everybody's expecting.
Right.
But, yeah, that should be really interesting. And there was another article I was reading about this, but basically this is going to be Disney's thing going forward is they're going to have like the movie properties, the TV properties, and then the animated series. And they're going to try to keep them more in lockstep than having them trip over themselves like they did with the Solo release. So.
See, I think part of the reason why I like these spin-offs so much is partly because I've really enjoyed the break from the Force user / Jedi, that whole mythos. Like, I've really enjoyed Rogue One for just giving us a gritty, like human tale of what the Empire versus the Rebellion was.
And it put the war in Star Wars.
Exactly.
Right? It was a Saving Private Ryan-esque kind of war movie, which we hadn't seen in Star Wars before.
And one of the coolest scenes in Solo was when he was in the Imperial Army and he was, in the trenches in a
Right.
World War I style battle. Like that was awesome.
I think those Star Wars stories are at their best when they're filling in things that we as Star Wars fans haven't seen.
Sure.
Like, they've always alluded to how the first Death Star plans were captured, right? But there wasn't a lot in even the old EU canon as to how that mission actually went down, how those plans got recovered and then beamed to Princess Leia's ship. They never really went into that territory. Where I think Solo kind of fell on its face is, you had a lot of that already.
Yeah.
There were 3 or 4 books and, fan fictions and stories and an accepted background already for Han Solo. And I don't know if there was as much of an audience for that kind of a story. Where with Boba Fett and even Ben Kenobi, there's not really that much what did Ben Kenobi do after Clone Wars prior to Episode 4? Touched on it a little bit in Rebels, but, I think there's room to fill that in because it's not a heavily mined area of...
Speaking of, I'm going to put John on the spot right now. He just started watching Rebels Season 1. I loaned him the first couple of seasons. How are you finding Rebels so far, John?
See, I don't really think you should be calling me out on this because I'm not a huge fan.
What episode are you on right now?
Episode 4.
Oh, come on.
Okay,
4
so...
or 5. I'm still on the first disc.
Okay.
But I'm not a huge fan of the kiddie stuff.
That's what I was saying. You got to get
much
past
more
the first
mature,
3 or
trust
4
me.
episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a huge fan of Clone Wars. It's not that I don't like animated shows. Like I'm cool with it. I want something grittier.
Just keep watching.
All right.
See, and I don't understand how you
get to
can
season
look
2.
at Rebels and say it's a kiddie show because, like, in the first episode, like, they kill 15 stormtroopers, shooting them in the face right at the the It's not a kiddie
They didn't really
show.
show it. But
Well, but you know that those
It's cartoon
stormtroopers are
violence.
dead.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
like, nobody survives that. Nobody
fair.
gets
To
shot in
John,
the
they're not
face.
really people. They're just faceless soldiers in the Imperial War Machine.
I mean, that's kind of official canon, isn't it?
I mean,
Yes.
you just hate on them because
But
they've got a red defense dice.
Once some more Imperial characters start being tailored into this
Yeah.
a little
Just stick
bit,
with it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets really good.
Well,
it gets really good.
I'll write out the first season. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll
you
see
should.
how it goes.
Yeah, it's good.
You called it though, the slingshot thing.
It's
super
super annoying, right?
Really bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Pew pew pew.
Honestly, if my wife didn't like the movie, the series immediately, I probably would have stopped right there.
Oh, really?
But, she stuck with it. I'm really glad. But,
Okay. Well, I'll carry on.
Anyways, so that's about it for Star Wars news right now. Did you hear about the barricades?
Barricada.
No, stop. Okay, you're beating it now.
So I figure we might as well just get into this. We had we were finishing up our first month of the Escalation League
Yes.
that we were hosting here
Yeah,
at Power 9, and I had to get my last 500-point game in, which I wasn't a huge fan of the middle point games, but the 500-point game, of course, was the largest one that you play on the 3x3 map.
Yeah, I honestly think you might want to jump to the 6x3 for future engagements, but
Yeah, anything over 350 points on that 3x3 map is just it's too crowded.
so what was your list like?
So my list was pretty close to what I've been running. I think I put out 5 Rebel Trooper units. 4 and then 1 Fleet Trooper unit, all bare bones. 2 ATRTs.
Did they all have extra man?
I don't think any of them did. I
Okay,
think
so they
all
were
bare
just
bones.
4-man units?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
2 ATRTs with rotary and Leia.
Yeah.
And of course, because I didn't look at what the unit makeup was for each point level, I just kind of thought, 3x3 map, 500 points. Probably not going to see ATST. We'll be good.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if I could have taken a heavy support in 500 points.
Oh.
That's what happens when you jump around. I'm gonna.
Well,
I'm
while
gonna look it
you're
up
looking
real
up
quick.
whether or not you were a dirty cheater.
But assuming that I wasn't, which
Now,
I'm sure people
I would like
already
to. I would
identified.
like to caveat this that it was just happenstance that Matt cheated while playing Imperials. Okay, we are not cheaters. Okay,
Well, while Matt's like checking on that, let me just give you a breakdown of how this worked out. If you couldn't already figure it out by my tone of voice, Matt, with his ATST and concussion, which, let's be real, I mean, like he made a good decision putting concussion on that. He marched gradually up the field and blew everything out of cover because he's want to do that with range 2.
Sure.
And because a 3x3 map, your
You
range
get there
2
real
is
quick.
pretty much everything.
Yeah. Just like I found out on playing on a 3x3 mat that your ability to use Veers' maximum firepower goes away very quickly.
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, oh, turn 3. Let's go ahead and they're all within like range. Damn it.
So it was a combination of two things. It was a combination of me not being prepared for all comers, which, let's be real, as a wargamer, I should know
be,
that. I
right?
should know that.
Yeah.
I should have a couple ions, which I usually play with at least one ion in my list, usually two. Just in case of having to face an ATRT or ATST. I didn't in this situation. Wasn't prepared for it. And 2, I don't know what he does with his red defense dice, but his stormtroopers are...
0 to 1 heavy units, baby.
Oh, so you got beat legitimately.
So I got beat legitimately. There's no...
Oh, yeah.
There's no crying foul here. He beat me fair and square. But yeah, your stormtroopers... They save more than Adeptus Custodes wearing double Terminator armor, wearing
Yeah, they're pretty
the
much
shell of an ATST.
the shining beacon of awesomeness in this galaxy far, far away. And my stormtroopers don't take no sass from you, sir. They were like, hey, try harder next time.
They don't take sass. They don't take
Blaster
orbital
fire.
bombardments.
All that weak rebel crap. Get that out of here.
Like,
Trained military professionals.
Pretty sure in case of a nuclear war, cockroaches and
stormtroopers,
stormtroopers,
yeah.
which are basically human cockroaches.
Whoa, uncalled
Oh, man.
for.
See, they're not even really people to you.
They're
You
not.
just don't care.
They're not. They're just these like
You're monstrous, sir.
white armor.
This coming
adorned-
from the guy that kills the Duros first every time.
No, he
Okay.
stopped doing it.
Oh,
now,
did he?
Now we
Okay.
got it's reverse
Yeah.
speciesism now because he'll leave it
okay.
very specifically. He'll kill humans first now.
I will.
That was I don't know if you saw it, Matt, but that was my favorite moment from my Legion Facebooking and everything. Somebody posted up. I think he posted it on our page.
Yeah, it was a full squad of Duros.
full squad of Duros. And my question was, well, who do you kill first?
Yeah.
Is this like a
Ooh.
cheat?
Oh, God,
It's like
yeah.
I can't be a speciesist and kill the Duros first, so none of them die. And now I have like hand waved my way to an invincible unit. I think that's the way this game works now.
I mean, if we're gonna play this tactically, you remove the Duros first because he has the most bulbous head. Okay?
He's
And
the
got
biggest
those-
target,
and he's got those
right?
Yeah.
bright red eyes. If you're going based on canon, he's got those
Sure.
bright red eyes.
Right.
Probably glows in the dark. Yeah, you
And he
gotta
doesn't have
take
a helmet
Duros.
on.
He does.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's got a
Oh,
helmet
okay,
on.
he's got a helmet. Okay.
Does
Oh,
he?
wait.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
No, he
Right.
doesn't.
My
Yeah.
bad.
So that's why he dies, because he didn't have a helmet.
That's true. Exactly.
It's like the Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, rebel troopers don't have OSHA or any kind of safety standards. They
It's
need to
horrible. They
stand down
Well,
for
you
safety.
can't be a rebel and follow the rules.
Sorry, man. We just don't have any helmets that fit your head.
Yeah, man.
You're just gonna have to die, I guess.
I do love the Stormtrooper's ability to tank damage. I mean, even without a defensive surge, it always seems to come up right when you need it.
Yeah,
Right?
and
I played a game against Matt where I had like 3 Stormtroopers sitting on an objective, and he had 3 units shooting at it, and these guys just tanked for like 2 rounds until finally he was able to whittle it down. But it was able to keep him off the objective because I just kept rolling saves. So
And if you look at it just based on the statistics of it, it's supposed to be 50% of the time for
Yeah.
stormtroopers, 33% of the time for rebel troopers. But I know from my playing experience, it's never that.
that armor is Sex Panther because 50% of the time
Yeah.
it works every time.
I mean, that's how that works. Yes.
Yeah, that is how that works.
Yeah, because the first round, I played Leia's 1 pip card that allows you to shoot 2 red dice at 3 different units.
targets.
And I did that to him and 3 different stormtrooper units, and lo and behold, I rolled 6 hits and he rolled 6 saves.
Maybe you were loading paint rounds and you're like getting
Right.
off of the field.
I'm starting to think that might be the case.
Yeah, riot control bullets. They're all rubber.
Well, even then, you'd think they'd have a little bit better statistics. Maybe someone's going to drop
It was pretty fun, and you were playing the objective smart. It was just kind of towards the end when I think I just got you below that critical mass for being able to contest and control objectives.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you were preserving the guys that were in the whittled down unit so they could still go grab. So that was smart. But I think I just kind of – I didn't think you were going to bring the ions at that point level. So I got a little abusive with it. So I apologize.
You played the pregame smart, and I did not. So kudos to you, sir. So
while we were talking about posting things up online, I just want to call out one guy real quick. John Paul Nathan Perry, he posted up in the Legion Facebook group with the most amazing Imperial armor, and I kind of want you to go back and repaint this. But basically, the thought behind it was they were marooned Imperials that had gone feral, basically. But I don't know if you saw this.
No, dude. So that's one of my boys. Like,
is
one of my good friends
man.
from Germany.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Holy cow, small world.
So I know.
So I need to contact him to paint my stuff up. Apparently, did you
I
see
guess
this?
so. He's a talented painter.
Oh, wow. No, I did not see that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I thought you were going, when you said went feral, I thought you were going to show the, somebody posted in the painting forum, stormtroopers that were Vault-Tech. So they were all blue and yellow. They were all blue and yellow like they were in vault suits.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was really good too.
Great. It very much reminded me of the like Republic Commando with we talked about that a little bit last week. Well, maybe, I don't know if you heard me, but with the paint and just kind of differentiates, makes it a little bit more eye-catching on the field. So hats off to him.
Yeah, so JP is, like I said, he's one of my good friends.
You're going to have to post the link up again. So
for sure. Well, he listens to our podcast. So what's up, JP?
Sweet.
Hi.
So JP came to me and he's like, hey man, I really want to start an Imperial Army. He was telling me like, hey, what units are good. He got into the game a little bit later after release, and he was having a hard time trying to find a local meta. I think he's over in Colorado, and he was trying to find a meta there. And he went to his first tournament, and he came back from it. And he's like, man, like everyone's got the same, the armies are all painted the same way and everything. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to try to find a way to, come up with something new.
So really, you're responsible for this. So
not
good
at
job,
all.
John.
That's basically what he's saying.
Not at all. No, because he showed me that after he did it, and I was like, whoa. Dude,
that blew
good.
my socks off. I really like that. So hats off, sir. Well done.
Yeah, JP, you get the hobby award for the month here. We're going to take a quick break, and then coming back, we're going to take a look at what we're hoping for the future of the game.
Tune in every Wednesday to Radio Free Tatooine, a Star Wars podcast that's better than some and worse than others. Take a trip to a water cooler far, far away as we bring some casual, fun conversation into the Star Wars podcasting community. Hosted by me, Sean, my sister Amy, and John. Radio Free Tatooine. We may not know what we're talking about, but we sure know how to record it. For more, visit RadioFreeTatooine.com, a proud member of the Radio Free Tatooine Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network, recorded on location at Power 9 Games. Whether you're looking for the latest releases from Legion, X-Wing, 40K, Magic, or any of our other extensive inventory of board and card games, head to power9games.com and use coupon code OUTRIDER10 to get 10% off your order. Plus, shipping is free on orders over $100. Now, back to the Outriders.
We're back, Outriders. John, Josh, and Matt here to talk about barricades.
Barricada.
Stop!
No!
God, why?
I liked it better when your mic didn't work.
That's fair, but who's here telling you? It was funny the first 3 times.
Not
the
to
fourth
me.
time is okay.
A joke isn't really dead until you've beaten it to death. Okay?
Exactly.
I'm
Have you
dying
met me?
a little bit. I mean, come on.
Have you met
I'm
me?
supposed to make the bad jokes here, and you're
Aw.
killing me. My spirit.
Well, we're going to talk about the future of the game. This game it's been out for 3 months, so it's probably way too early to start making an assessment of how viable the game is to, stick around with a longevity of something like, 40K or, Warhammer Fantasy, where you've seen these games out for 20-some years. I think what we've seen so far from the game is good, but what kind of things do you guys need in the near future of the game to really increase the variety?
And just to be clear, John made us promise that we wouldn't get into another wish listing scenario where, Wookiees, dewbacks, that kind of
Tauntauns.
thing. We're actually going to be
Tauntaun
talking like
cavalry.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. But we're going to actually talk about mechanics that we would like to see to kind of spice up the gameplay on the table a little bit. Any of you guys have ones that leap to mind?
Well, I think I think the bones of the game are really strong.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely,
Now they just need to start filling in kind of the niche stuff, the
specialty
the better
roles,
flavor
yeah.
stuff.
And we're starting to see that, I think, with like the heavy emplacements, the E-webs,
Right.
and things like that.
I would like to start to see individual trooper units that are heavy troopers.
Yeah.
And not wish listing here, using this as an example, but something like Dark Troopers, something, Death Troopers, something that will have, 2 wounds per unit, but it's also a smaller unit. It's maybe, 3 dudes with a possibility for a 4th. Or a heavy weapon.
And for the love of God, give me, as a Rebel player, give me something with red defense die. He's like,
Right,
we were
yeah,
just talking
sure.
about.
Without spoiling the flavor between the two, but I could definitely see like an elite slot with like a heavy, maybe like riot shields or something like that.
Sure.
That gives them that red defense excuse, just so you have something you can tank a little bit more. That being said, I'd also love to see Rebels get some sort of flanking unit, like the bikes, just something, outside of a 200-point land speeder.
Sure. Something that maybe you could, have 2 of them in a list without crippling the rest of your list.
Yeah, just something that can get up the board and take out, maybe that E-web or something like that can grab objectives as well as bikes do. Like 100 points, I think that seems like a fair amount to get something with a bunch of mobility.
Yeah, everything in the game just seems very binary right now. The Imperials have a big walker. The Rebels get little walkers. The Rebels have a big speeder. The Imperials have little speeders. It needs to kind of even out a little bit more.
Okay.
That's the one thing mechanics wise that I would really like to see. I would like to see the Imperial get a big speeder unit that is Imperial in nature, that brings the Imperial emphasis of attack over defense. I'd like to see the Rebels get some kind of tank ground unit that's a ground unit.
Yeah.
I think they need. It's time to start getting away from the binary nature of the game and start.
You don't always need a straight analog to.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's not apples and oranges, right? It's not you get A, so the other side gets B.
Yeah.
Give me the same kind of A. And I understand with only 2 factions, you've got to do that to kind of keep that.
They still need to have their faction identities.
That faction flavor, and I get that, but
to that point, instead of having like speeder bike units for Rebels, why not give them like something you see in the outflanking kind of ability, the rapid reinforcements or something, where they can deep strike in down the table. And
that was going to be one thing that
have to be fast, but they can be where they need to be to do their thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I think the one thing that I want to see besides just adding more units to the game, adding more scenarios, adding more objective cards, and we're going to get some of those with the moisture
pack,
evaporators.
yeah.
But I'd like to see just some other ones that added more variety to the pre-game portion of it.
Okay.
Because I think
the boring stuff, got it.
The boring stuff. Well, yeah,
turn 0, right?
But by this time, we already have the 4 cards memorized,
right? And it's long march again. Recover the supply. Get the transmission.
Something to liven up. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that do with a lot less. Like you'll have maybe 8 scenarios for 40K for like 7 years or something like that.
Sure, and for the most part.
And the fact that you can mix and match the different things to change it up, it is kind of funny how similar they end up being,
But with 40K, you are playing that, say, whatever army you own, you're playing that scenario against a potential, 15, 17 other different armies that will all play that same scenario vastly different based off of what those other factions are. And I can't profess to have an intricate knowledge of all of the 40K scenarios.
Well, let me break it down. There's going to be to the approach. There's going to be DACA. There's going to be more DACA. There's going to be for the Emperor, and there's going to be WA. So that
but I mean, if you had like a long march breakthrough, right? Let's use a Star Wars Legion scenario and deployment, but talk about it for how a Tau army is going to go about that, and maybe Long March and Breakthrough is not the best one. Let's key positions. How an Imperial Guard army is going to sit on objectives and make you come at them is going to be a lot different than how an Eldar army is going to, or an Orc army, or Imperial Knights.
Okay,
or,
so
they have not very many scenarios, but the way those scenarios are going to play is going to be vastly different depending on what kind of army is across from you.
So
on the
game
table.
will change based on what you're playing, as opposed to
the Legion doesn't have that quite so much right now because you're going to get Rebel Trooper spam or you're going to get Imperial Trooper spam.
I mean, troops are good.
I mean, yeah. So there's not a lot of diversity in how you're playing the game right now.
Gotcha.
But on the contrary to that, you also don't have the level of predictability that you have with 40K. If like the scenarios you were talking about, if I'm lined up against a Tau player, I may not know what every single unit that he has in his army, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to charge it at me.
Yeah, you can be rest assured it sucks in close combat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I'm playing against a Siege Demon army, I'm guessing he's probably going to be doing a lot in the psychic phase.
Right.
There's a certain style
tropes,
tropes exactly that you can expect from a player based on what they have. I can line up against a Imperial list, and while I may have an idea of how it's built, that player could play that totally different than I was expecting. And so there's more moderation, I guess, and more balance. There's more balance in the Force, if you will.
I will not. But another type of mechanic I would love to see support units make their way onto the field, whether it be like a mechanic crew or a healer unit or something like that, like a 2-1B medical droid, something that you can actually support other units. I think we talked about, I made a joke about having Matt the radar technician come out and help move around the equipment, but I think that would be really cool.
So would you like to see, let's say medics?
Yeah.
Would you implement medics as their own unit and they just follow people around?
I think that'd be a good operative or something.
Or is that something where you kind of open the aperture a little bit on what you can attach to a unit?
Ooh, yeah.
And say, okay, instead of a Ion Trooper or a Z6, you put a medic there.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
I think, and that gives you basically gives. I don't want to say it gives. It's some way to have a guardian type effect on that unit. Like that medic, if it's not a crit, you can do something to spend something to take one wound away.
Yeah.
Which simulates him, slapping a Bacta patch on your forehead for that gunshot wound.
No, it'd be great for the multi-wound heroes, maybe the ability to bring back the single wound models in small amounts, but transports.
Definitely, the game definitely needs transports. I just don't know how you implement them and have them be cost efficient and fair.
Yeah.
Everything in the game right now is kind of, especially because you've got limited real estate, even on a 6x3 board. Okay, my troopers move a speed 2.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're not going. If they're double moving, they're not really going much farther or less farther than a speeder that compulsory moves and moves once. Now, obviously, if a speeder unit triple moves, right, it's going to be all the way across the field. But without implementing another speed band, a speed 4, or knocking all of your troopers down to 1, or making the board bigger, the transport's really only giving you armor to transport.
What if
but it's not getting you anywhere faster per se.
Well, depending on what rules they come with. What if they got rid of the compulsory and did like speed 3?
Yeah,
marginally faster. You're able to protect your troops.
Right.
Might give you a little bit better options for a redeployment. But
what if you had this mechanic? What if your transport activated after your trooper unit? So say you've got a trooper unit that's range 3 away. You double move up to base, embark, and then once you activate that transport can move in its turn.
Or vice versa, you can have one of the actions on the transport be to embark or disembark.
Exactly.
So you can get people on board, dump them out, and then they've still got their 2 activations.
Yeah, to gain all those benefits that you would get from protecting your infantry units in an armored shell, and then the movement advantages. Yeah, I don't really think that you should be able to basically in one turn leapfrog infantry 2/3 of the way across the board. Because you without those those action mechanics for load and unload, whether it's, your infantry takes an action to load, so you can only move once. Mm-hmm. You do one move, load, and then you've got to use an action on that infantry unit to unload.
Yeah.
So, getting in, you're not going to be able to get across the board and unload in one turn. You got to have some way where they're at least a little vulnerable in there. Where
sure,
if you get you get the transport shot up,
yeah,
and maybe you can't shoot in a turn that you disembark.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's going to be a fine line. I think there's definitely a opportunity for it, but you don't want it to be too action intensive because again, that whole 12 activations during a game,
sure,
or 12
exactly.
actions rather.
I mean, but that brings up some interesting mechanics while they're embarked. Does now your transport act like a mobile pillbox? Can your guys shoot out of it? At least infantry weapons.
Yeah.
I think it would depend on the transport.
That's not and that's not a. I hate to go real world, but that's a lot of combat infantry transports allow you to do that. Allow you to take a gun and stick it in a hole in the side of the APC and shoot out of it.
Sure.
Does how well armed are your transports?
I guess it's going to depend on design and how many points you pay for it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, once it gets up there, what's its ability to support your troops?
Is it going to have a bot gunner on top that's going to put down suppressive fire?
Is it going to be like a rhino? Where it can sit there and put some fire down,
the top or something
right?
Like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But then, of course, you have to figure out too, like points wise, is it going to be even worth? Is there a trooper unit that you would even deem necessary to have a transport? Like maybe snow troopers, if you're trying to get them up to range 1 to use their flamethrower, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'm not going to stick my regular rebel troopers in a vehicle that costs more than the trooper unit itself.
Sure, but at the same time, now if you have a repulsor unit that's an APC type thing, now it's got fly 1, so I can get if my most direct path is over a bunch of low terrain, instead of having to zigzag my speed 2 infantry, I can just fly over it.
Sure.
I can flank it quicker. If you're trying to flank infantry, you got a ways to go, right?
Yeah.
Depending on your board layout and such. But if you put it in an APC and it can double move, you're gonna be able to use it to deposit infantry into more advantageous places quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And then I think one of the last things we all agreed on was we wanted kind of a unit that would interact with more of the special rules in the game. And I think the best example Josh came up with was like a droid unit. So something that would be susceptible to the ion special rule, maybe make it a more interesting choice, and is immune to suppression.
Yeah, I think the immune to suppression is the big thing there,
yeah.
Right? Because a droid is programmed to be fearless, unless you're like C-3PO. And you're programmed for survival and to go run and hide. But like a war droid of some sort, something like a dark trooper. That's a war droid.
Reclaim droidicas?
Sure, droidicas. If you want to
get them out there, rebels. Let's do it.
If you want to go into the really, 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 really way far back machine, Mandalorian Basilisk war droids.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
wow.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, something that is infantry-ish, but is immune to suppression, but can be ioned.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But and now that gives you, you can't just.
What about some like Viper probe droids?
Sure, yeah, and it says droid in the books, so Vipers are probably the first thing I would expect to see. The first droid unit I would expect to see announced.
It was at Hoth,
it just makes sense. But yeah, I mean, I think something that has that kind of mechanic where it's susceptible to ion but not to suppression would be really a non-panicable infantry unit that doesn't need Darth Vader to hang out, right?
And to be honest with you, I think that there needs to be some more justification for using ion. And I've gotten some good use out of it because we do have a meta that I think sees a lot more ATSTs than what I've seen on general list builders. But I think that most of the time when it comes to like what the snowtroopers, you have a choice between a flamethrower and an ion. Have you heard of anyone ever taking the ion over the flamethrower?
Snowtroopers. I'm not even planning on painting the ion troopers. I mean, that's
So
how little I'm
there.
actually planning on using them.
Yeah, so I don't feel like ion gets a lot of love,
right?
And I feel like having some of that mechanic with the droid, maybe giving them an ion, like
Sure.
that might make
Right.
that weapon more viable. And
Or some sort of droid support unit. You know?
I mean, like a probe droid or something can
Right.
hand out like aim tokens, so you don't have to have it in a command spot. I think that would be really beneficial, especially for the Imperial players.
And I think that I'd like to see more variety from upgrade cards. And I think that's one good thing about FFG.
And smoke grenades for the rebels.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Smoke grenades would be great.
Some way to control the
boost up our
battlefield.
defense.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, I think that something like other grenades or other troop options to have besides just heavy weapons, like you said, having a medic, having maybe somebody that like a standard bearer that maybe ignores suppression, allows your unit to ignore suppression.
You mean an
Your
artillery
your-
rangefinder?
Your 30K's coming through.
Yeah, I know, right?
Your 30K's coming
A
through.
Vexilla,
Yeah.
or a Legion Vexilla.
Yeah. I think I would really like to see, especially if we're only going to stay 2 factions, I would really like to see them start to release packs that are, stormtrooper upgrade packs, where it's 4 or 5 units that go into that specialist slot.
Yeah, exactly.
So
That'd
it's
be
not just
interesting, yeah.
DLT or HH12.
What
Give
mechanic
me-
would you like to see them being able to exploit on the field?
Well, one, a medic.
Okay,
definitely.
The
We already
specialist,
talked about
okay.
that. An engineer, and I know you've got your special forces coming out, and you've got your bike troops and your commandos, but allow me to take a little bit of that and allow me to take a little bit of that. Yeah, demolitions guy on my squad.
He can maybe blow up a barricade.
Whoa.
barricade.
We do not advocate the destruction of barricades. No barricades were harmed during the taping of this
Oh,
podcast.
little Thomas, you are safe. Don't worry.
Let me have a designated marksman in the squad. DLT kind of fills that role already, going out to, but give me an anti-character option, on a stormtrooper squad. A guy with a sniper rifle that is specifically there as a Vindicare assassin type thing.
You say that like you're seeing a lot of Luke and Leia lists or something like that.
I don't want to talk about that.
Wonder Twins power activate.
Right. Should paint them up like that.
So the one thing that going forward that I think would add to the flexibility of the game, especially if we keep two factions, is that kind of a trooper upgrade pack. Make it more of a Swiss Army knife. Allow me to make that decision. Do I want to go anti-armor? Do I want to go tanky? Do I want to go demolitions? Do I want to go with a sniper? I think that would add a lot to the game.
Maybe, without wish listing, having a unit that was more
Mortar trooper.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad.
Wouldn't
Somebody
be.
could just
Yeah,
toss out
you know,
suppression.
that's not a bad idea.
Because that is a cool
Yeah.
mechanic that I think we don't see enough with the ATST. Is because
Once people figured out line of sight.
well, yeah, exactly. But with the ATST, like that is a cool. Like the motor launcher is a cool mechanic, but because of the fact that it almost works incongruously with their other weapons, it doesn't make sense to have the mortar tubes and the range 2 concussion.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Because once you get up there for
Unless
concussion,
you
that mortar's worthless.
really want to have options and you're like, I got 10 points, let's
Yeah.
toss it on there.
But then
Who
if
needs
you're
comms?
keeping your ATST back for mortars, you're basically you have like a
You've
250
wasted
point
it, right.
mortar unit. Whereas if you toss one of those in a trooper unit,
A
it
25-point
might be
trooper
worthwhile.
unit doesn't seem so bad by
Right?
comparison.
3 troopers with mortars, and now you've legitimately, no matter where your commanders are, you've got a chance of panicking
Wow.
a unit off the board. No matter where your commanders are, which
we're
is
opening ourselves up to NPE there.
or panicking the commanders themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
Open fire! Oh, God, stop!
right, yeah.
Well, the one thing I was going to mention too, like I said, I'm not trying to wish list, but having a unit that really was made to be up close and personal, and the snowtroopers have that to an extent with their flamethrowers.
Luke.
Yeah, okay, the Jedi, yeah, you have that, but have somebody that's either dedicated melee or somebody who is most efficient within range 1.
You want assault troops.
And I think that's and I think that's probably a good niche there for your high armor troops, right? Your multi-wound,
Yeah, keep them protected
red
while they're
dice,
getting up the field.
but it's only good at range 1.
Maybe put them on a transport.
Right,
Yeah.
your assault terminators, kind of
Sure.
like
And you can have the ones that are the slow moving dedicated ones that are making their way up the board, or I would kind of like to see a fast melee unit, or a unit that's jetpacks, or I don't know, some kind of cavalry. Yeah, exactly.
Outriders even. Rancor-ridden monsters.
Something along the lines of that, yeah. But something that's going to be, up close and personal, turn 1 or turn 2, and something that they're going to have to,
release the Nexu.
So someone to prioritize the threat.
Let's not turn this into Imperial Assault, okay?
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
I mean, it's all Star Wars, man. Beasts are a big part of Star Wars.
Oh, well, okay. The Masters of Terrascasi is also Star Wars.
Hey, let's get some monks out there, tearing it up.
What did I do?
I'm totally cool with that.
There's your melee assault unit.
You have seen the custom sculpted Rogue One team, right?
Yeah, it looks really
those
good.
Are beautiful. Whoever sculpted.
I don't know what that has to do with Terrascasi, but
you said the monk, the guy.
Okay. So one of the defenders of the wheels.
Yeah. I don't know what his particular brand of martial art was, but
ass kickery.
Being awesome.
Yeah.
It was pretty
it was being Donnie Yen.
It was.
Yeah.
What's the martial art he does in Ip Man?
I don't know.
He's Donnie Yen.
Wing Chun.
Yeah, Donnie Yen.
You just refer to his martial art as
Wing
Donnie
Chun.
Yen.
Yes. Everybody Wing Chun tonight.
Okay.
This is our 80s music podcast.
Right, yeah, it is. So I think we've kind of talked that topic up here now. Yeah. So I had a question. I wanted to actually go back. A question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to when you guys were talking about the game that you guys played.
Uh-huh.
So as a store owner, now that we're kind of through a quote unquote season of like the organized play, how's that been received? Because I think especially for FFG, organized play drives a lot of the success of the game. X-Wing has a very robust organized play system, and that really drives a lot of how many people are coming into stores and how popular it is. Now that you've had kind of a season with all of the tchotchkes to give out and the cards and tokens and certificates, how does organized play seem to be shaping up versus organized play with X-Wing?
So that's an interesting question.
And sorry to spring that on you.
No. It's good. What I find is that it makes very little difference. Either you're invested in the game, you're excited to play it, and it's nice getting stuff for it, or it's not going to be enough to bring you into the store to do that stuff. So we had a lot of people sign up for the organized play slow grow escalation kit. Mm-hmm. Maybe about half the people actually completed their games, but I mean that's pretty standard for just about you for instance.
Thanks.
I might still have some of those full art cards, but I honestly find the OP kits are nice and most people enjoy them, but you've already got to have bought into the game and like, okay, I'm going to go out there and do this thing.
What's the attitude of the players at these events like? Because I could tell you, coming from X-Wing, you show up to a weekly game night, which is a kit night or anything like that, and most of the guys are there. They're like, I'm here to have fun. I have fun when I win. Kind of
our Destiny, Legion crew so far has been pretty laid back.
It seems pretty, and it seems like
the guys
Legion
that are showing
as a
up,
whole, it's just much more laid back than
it's
coming from X-Wing. It's like, and probably the same for Warhammer. The guys are like, I'm here to win.
You get a mixed bag of both.
Yeah. At this point, I mean, we haven't. It's not a huge community right now. I'm hoping it's going to keep growing, but by and large, everybody's been super friendly. And the few times I get judge calls to come and check out, I've never had an issue if somebody doesn't accept what I find in the rules. Everybody seems to be good. Mostly, if it's a rules question, is they want to know and they want to get better as players. So it's been a very good experience so far. I've been having a blast, and I hope everybody else is too.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something I wanted to ask, because as a store owner, you see not only Legion and X-Wing, but you also see Warhammer, Warmahordes, everything. You see the full gamut of competitive play. So I'm just curious, in your opinion, how it
doesn't hold a candle to Magic players. So
well, sure, yeah. What does though, right? I mean,
I think it's been I would say a good experience. The games that I've played, both competitively and for fun, I think that we've got a good meta here. And from I think what I've seen at large from the Legion community, just reading people's chats and stuff like that on the Facebook page and other forums, I think people have been pretty chill about stuff. I've not seen any like rules lawyering.
Yeah, and I haven't either. I mean, and that's Facebook, Discord, all of those places. The community seems to have settled into a very collegial place, for lack of a better term.
Except for Matt.
No,
yeah, showing up with ATST in a 500-point game on a 3x3 table. I mean, there's no room for that.
Screaming "suck it, nerd" at the top of my lungs was probably a little bit uncalled for as well.
See what happens when you put them in the corner, John?
Yeah.
See what happens?
They lash out.
The nerds will have their revenge. Nerds.
I think on that note, we'll wrap this up today. You guys got anything else you want to talk about?
Hey, yeah, I just want to say real quick, we did have a member of our local community here kind of leave us. Didn't pass away or nothing. He relocated. He moved.
This is Jordan.
Yes, yeah, Joe Callingsod. We miss you, Joe. We wish you were here.
Shout out, bud.
Shout out.
Keep on trying to build that Legion community out in
he
New
moved
Mexico.
to a very rural location, shall we say.
If there is a bright center of the
universe,
States,
he is in the city that is way farthest from. So, yeah, keep fighting the good fight out there, man. And good on you for trying to build those communities out there. And just remember, save me, palp. That's what you gotta every time. Save me, palp.
Well, next week, guys, we're gonna have a special guest join us. One of the, I would say, most active and well-respected members of the Star Wars Legion
a thought
Facebook
leader,
community.
if you will.
A thought leader,
How did we get a hold of him?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. He came on this show?
Yeah. So Nick Freeman, he's going to join us. He's got the Impact X blog, and he's putting out some great information. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I've taken a lot of his blog advice on creating my own list. So we're going to have him chat with us for a bit next week. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Otherwise, thanks for listening to us, guys. All right, folks, that's our show for this week. Just want to remind you that the Legion Outrider podcast is brought to you by the Radio Free Tatooine Network, a podcast network that's better than some and worse than others. To see the full lineup of shows, head to radiofreetatooine.com. See you next week, Outriders.
You've been listening to the Legion Outriders podcast, a member of the Radio Free Tatooine Network.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
For more from the Outriders, make sure you like us on Twitter @Legion Outriders, subscribe to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Legion Outriders, and make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.